Celtics put up literally their worst quarter ever, but still gave themselves a chance to win, probably because Ugo was awesome. Still, it's a loss to the Knicks. We're talking about it on this bonus Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising business, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics, and I'll talk about them every Monday through Friday. Even on a Saturday when they play on a Friday night, even when they look awful for a lot of that game, I'm here for you with a free podcast. It's available everywhere. It's on YouTube, so get into the comments section. Join your fellow everydayers as I guess right now we're in commiseration stage when it comes to the Celtics. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple of books about the team. I've also been covering this team for about 20 years now. We're talking about a loss to the Knicks. It goes down as a 105-95 loss. They were down as much as 24. I'll save the best for last. I'm going to save Ugo Gonzalez for the end. I don't want to go too crazy about this game because it was, a tough loss. But we got to start with literally the worst quarter ever. And I know people will often literally use the term literally wrong, but I'm literally using it correctly because this was literally the worst quarter in terms of point differential that the Celtics have ever played. They were outscored 42-14. That deficit is the greatest deficit ever in a quarter for the Boston Celtics. It happened in the second quarter where everything went wrong for the Celtics. They gave up runs. This is crazy. 11-0, 17-0, and 12-0. In three separate instances, they gave up those runs in the second quarter. I've never heard of a team giving up 11, 17, and 12-0 runs. Celtics shot 4 of 18. They had 6 turnovers for 13 Knicks points. They allowed 7 offensive rebounds. They were outscored 12-0 on second chance points. The Knicks shot 50%. They went to the line 12 times and shot 100% at the line. That was as bad a second quarter, as bad a quarter as you're literally ever going to see. And it came after a pretty decent first quarter. The Celtics were up 8 after the first quarter. They looked good. The pace was being pushed. They were hitting a few shots. Everything looked decent in the first quarter. We had Jaylen Brown, 8 points, 5 points for Nemish Queta. He, was doing his thing. Simons came in and looked good. I was like, man, his shot just looked smooth. Tillman was doing a couple of things. Gonzalez was starting to show. Like this was a really interesting first quarter. Joe Mazzulla did a hockey sub or a full line change, and it was all working. The Knicks were not hitting anything. They were shooting terribly. It was looking good, even though they had a bunch of offensive rebounds. They couldn't capitalize. Second quarter shots started to fall. The offensive rebounds came, and the Celtics started to get deflated. They started to play frantic. It was kind of all over the place. And the second quarter, like I said, 42-14. I don't know how you even get there to 42-14. The Celtics shot so horribly. Pritchard was having, and I'll get to the individual stuff, but Pritchard, White, Jaylen Brown after the first quarter was, struggled. Everybody struggled. Meanwhile, the Knicks just got going, and the rebounding is a major problem. And this is getting to a point here where, like, I'm going to have to keep talking about it. At some point, I am going to have to let it go because the rebounding it's just going to be bad the whole time. This quote from Joe tells you a lot about where they are. And he said, talking about the rebounding, said we have to combat it in 3 ways. We have to be as physical as we can rebounding. We have to get offensive rebounds. We have to force more turnovers. So it's a 3-thing approach to getting that. If you look at those 4 categories, now they switch to 4. Defensive rebound, offensive rebounding, forcing turnovers, and not turning it over. We probably have a better chance of controlling 3 out of the 4 of those with our effort and ability to control those things. So we got to fight for those. In that is an admission that, well, we're going to control 3 of the 4 of those things. Well, offensive rebounding, that's 1. Forcing turnovers, I think, is 2. Not turning the ball over is 3. Defensive rebounding is something that they're not going to be able to control for a couple of reasons. Obviously, they don't have the personnel. They're not big. They're going to get out rebounded simply because they are going to reach for a ball, and somebody bigger is going to also reach for the ball, and the bigger guy with longer arms is going to get it. That is going to happen, and there's nothing the Celtics can do about it other than change who they have on their team and bring in guys who can be bigger and taller, who are bigger and taller, and can grab those rebounds. So that's just not going to change. But they also play this very aggressive defensive style where guys are going for steals, and it's going to put them out of position, and there's going to be rotations, and guys are going to have to make up for that kind of, it'll put a guy out of position, so somebody has to step up. You're leaving something. That's going to allow a lot more 3-pointers than we're used to seeing the Celtics give up. They're just going to allow those, and they're going to give up offensive rebounds no matter what. The Celtics, I've said this before, I'll probably say it again. I don't want to go too crazy about it, but it just is the fact of the matter. They have to get to a point where they're just not the worst rebounding team. The numbers from this game are just so ridiculous. The Celtics' defensive rebounding percentage was 54.5 in this game. They rebounded 54.5% of the available rebounds. So that's, half, almost, like a little bit more than half. Last year, the worst team in the NBA rebounding was at 67.8. So that is a 13% difference between where the Celtics were in this particular game and what the worst rebounding team averaged. Now, the difference between the worst team and the best team last year was 5.6%. So the Celtics were more than twice as bad as is the gap between the worst and the best. Like, they were more than twice as far. Almost 3 times as far away from the bottom as the bottom was from the top last year. That's just how bad the rebounding was. They have to get to 70%. They have to. And number 1 in the league was 73.5. Tom Westerholm and I have talked about this. The numbers sound bad, but if the Celtics had just rebounded at the worst rate from last year, that 67.8%, the Celtics would have gotten 7 more rebounds in this game. That just being the worst from last year, 7 more defensive rebounds, which is a few putbacks that don't go in, and then the Celtics give themselves a chance. If they were at 70%, they would have gotten another one. So 8. Just being a mediocre defensive rebounding team, they would have gotten 7, 8, 9 defensive rebounds that they didn't get in this game. When you take away some of those second chance points, now obviously the game flow would be different, but the Celtics probably wouldn't have been down 20 plus in that second quarter. Who knows how that second quarter goes if they grab one of those offensive rebounds that they gave up with the 12-0 deficit. If you take that away and say, okay, it's a 6, or 4 point, now it's a little bit more manageable. You go into the half, you have a terrible quarter, and you go into the half, you're down 14 or 12. or 10 instead of 20. You come out in the third quarter and the Celtics came out right away on an 8-0 run. Now, all of a sudden, you're right there. You're within a couple of baskets. Celtics went on an 8-0 run to cut it to mid-teens, and you're like, okay, this doesn't really move the needle for me. So I don't want to keep harping all year long because it's going to get old and boring. But the rebounding was so stark in this game. The rebounding issue was so in your face in this game. I have no choice but to talk about it. Let's talk about the other guys, Derrick White, Jaylen Brown, Payton Pritchard. Before we get to Ugo Gonzalez, we'll do that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win. Not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening. Beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Today's show is also brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, and no BS. So say yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. So you're getting that same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. And the setup is super easy. You keep your number and then you're up and running in minutes. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 is required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees are extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go make Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night your second listen. Game Night, this isn't a bonus episode for Game Night. They are 7 days a week covering every game in the association. So check that out. And then Locked On NBA has all the big stories on their afternoon show Monday through Friday. Catch me on Game Night on Wednesdays with Jake Madison. This is a rare bad game for Derrick White. It's a little stunning. You don't normally get Derrick White in the bad game category. 15 points on 5 of 18 shooting, 3 of 11. He's really struggling to find that 3-point touch. Did he have 4 rebounds? Did have 4 assists, a steal, a block, just 1 turnover. So it just felt like the misses were weighing on Derrick. It felt like he just was affected by the missed shots. And Pritchard, same thing. 2 of 10, 1 of 7 from 3. It's 2 regular season games where he's 1 of 7 from 3. In fact, if you roll in his preseason, he was 0 for 8 in the final preseason game. He's 7 of 35 over 3 preseason games and the 2 regular season games. It's 20% shooting. So Pritchard has come into this season, no matter what he's played, preseason or the 2 regular season games, Pritchard is shooting terribly. Now, look, he's Payton Pritchard. He's going to do other things. All of these guys are trying to do other things, right? But they're clearly being affected. So Pritchard, 8 points, did have 5 rebounds, 6 assists, the team best. And Jaylen Brown, I'm going to lump him into it. I think the numbers, the raw numbers, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists look okay. A steal, but 7 turnovers. And some of the turnovers were just awful. It looked bad. It looked like the last game of the playoffs against the Knicks last year. It started to look that bad. So you didn't get a great game from him, from Pritchard, from White, and look, Jaylen admitted it. He said, we're out of sync. He said, I have to be better rebounding. I think he understands. I think the Celtics do understand that, they are saying the right things after these games. They know what they have to do. It's just, like I've said, the preseason was such garbage that this is essentially the preseason. This is their first chance against live competition to really see where they stack up. And they don't stack up well against the best of the best. And the Knicks tried. The Celtics defense stepped up in the second half. In fact, for 3 quarters, the Celtics did outplay the Knicks. Really, the first, third, and fourth quarters, the Celtics won by a combined 18 points. Not that that means much because the second quarter was so awful, but the Celtics can look at that because you're trying to stack up good things and say, we started out great. We came back in the second half great. There's obviously the, second half caveat where Knicks came out. Things looked so bad for the Celtics in the second quarter that the Knicks probably came out a little slow, a little soft, and didn't step it back up until the fourth quarter. But the Celtics can say, hey, look, we 18-point lead. We just had to play better that one quarter. We would have been fine. But it's more than just playing better than that in that one quarter. It's the Celtics have to be on point with all of their non-rebounding. Well, I wouldn't even say that because offensive rebounding is part of the rebounding, but you got to go in there and you got to grab offensive rebounds, which the Celtics didn't do, right? The Celtics didn't grab offensive rebounds in this game. They turned the Knicks over 20 times, which is good, but they only got 16 points off of those turnovers, which is bad. Being outscored in fast break points 15-2 and not getting those 2 until the very end, basically, that's a problem. The Celtics, they were playing fast to start the game. I thought the pace was really, really good to start the game, and then it just went away because of everything. I think they just got demoralized with the rebounding stuff. But 20 turnovers, but they only got 16 points. The Celtics had 16 turnovers and gave up 23 points off of those. So they have to be better at those other things. The offense has to be clicking. If the shots aren't falling, the Celtics are going to struggle to win anyway. But if the shots aren't falling and you're only getting barely, a little bit more than half of your defensive rebounds, it's always going to be a loss. And as I've said all summer long, basically, this Celtics team very much looks like a team that's going to really they're not good enough to beat the good teams, and New York is one of the good teams. They're too good to lose to the bad teams, and we'll see them play the bad teams, and I think they'll look great against those bad teams. The middle tier teams, and I think Philly's probably in that mix in the middle tier, kind of depending on who's healthy and not, but those are the games. Those are going to be the swing games. So Sunday becomes an important game. Sunday against the Pistons, 3:30 in the afternoon. Pistons are in that middle tier. They're not quite a good team yet. They're trying to be a good team. That's a big game. If the Celtics lose that game on Sunday, that 0-7 that I'm talking about, that 0-7 that people were giving me crap about, saying, where's your faith and all of that stuff, it becomes a very real possibility. I think everybody sees what I was talking about when I said the beginning is going to be a struggle, that the Celtics are going to have trouble with the beginning of the schedule. I know some people didn't want to believe me, and I know that I'm taking, it's not the victory lap that I want to take, but it's obvious. When the Celtics have to have, like Joe said, 3 of those 4 things, they have to have those go right. And they didn't in this one. What did go right is Ugo Gonzalez. And 2 things about Ugo. Number 1, he was really good in this game. The defensive effort, hit a couple of nice lefty finishes. he really was pushing. Now he got the rookie whistle. I think there were a couple of calls that were iffy. So, but he puts himself in position to get those foul calls sometimes, but a couple of steals, 4 rebounds, didn't hit a 3. It was 0 for 2, but you clean up some of the fouls, clean up some of those things. I think being 19 years old and on that stage, he's good. I like the question after the game where it's like, and I think it is cool. It's kind of interesting to have that experience of, Madison Square Garden and your first like taste of NBA life, like your NBA actions that on the road at MSG. That's a great atmosphere and all of that stuff. And I tweeted that like that's got to be cool. He wasn't in a headspace to say that was cool, but he also said, this is great. He's like, I've played in some, pretty crazy situations, and I think if you want to just go Google European European basketball crowds, you'll understand. Like he's probably sitting there going like, what's the big deal with MSG? When you look at these crowds, they got indoor fireworks. It's crazy. They chant the whole game. They're on their feet, jumping the whole game. It's crazy, the atmosphere over there. But he's here. He's at MSG. He played pretty well. Was a +7 in a game they lost by 10 and they were down by 20. They were down 24. He's a +7. So first things first, Ugo played great. Second thing about Ugo is I don't want to overreact to this simply because all I care about with Gonzalez is his development. All I care about is his development. I do not care if he helps the Celtics win a couple of games. This is not the season for me to care about, this guy might help you win a couple and this guy might, they might surprise. I don't care. Oh, great. The Celtics won 46 games. Maybe they won a first round playoff series. This is not going to be a deep playoff run. I mean, it is possible that if Jayson Tatum comes back and he looks great and certain things come together and maybe there's a trade in the midseason, we can revisit this later. But right now, I don't give a damn. I do not give a damn about Ugo. Like, oh, wow, he can get these minutes. Maybe he can help the Celtics. All I care about is his development. Now, I don't know where his development will be best. It could be never touching the G League. It could be exclusively playing in the G League. I don't know which the Celtics will determine is best. Maybe it's a mix. I do not want to look at this game and say, oh, well, now he's in the rotation and forget about Maine. I'm not saying send him to Maine. What I'm saying is let's not rule out whatever the Celtics determine is the best developmental plan for him, because it's not about this year. It's about next year or the year after and all of that. I think I've said this before on this podcast. I think Ugo Gonzalez is going to be a starter for the Boston Celtics at some point, not this season, but at some point during his rookie contract, he will become a starter for the Boston Celtics. I'm on record as saying that this game, I think, is part of the evidence, that pile of evidence. I think this is great. If the Celtics say developmentally, he's far enough, like he's learned enough, they could just say Real Madrid was his developmental. That was his G League. Now he's here and he's ready to participate and learn and fail at the NBA level. Then great. If that's what they determine, absolutely great. Totally fine with that. I'm going to defer to the Celtics on this one because all I want is Ugo to play basketball and get better. I do not want Gonzalez sitting there getting DNPs just because of circumstances. Speaking of DNPs, side note, I don't know why Josh Minot didn't play. Weird decision. In all of this, he did not play. Feels like he did something wrong and was getting punished for this game. I don't know. But regardless, Ugo, I think he's going to be great. I want him to develop and be great, whatever that is. So we can make the strong argument that this shows that he's ready to play at the NBA level, then great. But if the Celtics send him to Maine, I don't want anybody being like, why is he going to Maine? He should be. No. Send him to Maine. Give him a 38 minutes a game, of experience. Like, that's totally fine with me. So, but very impressed with him. I think he's got a lot. He's got a lot to give this sport, a lot to give this team over his career. That's going to be it for this podcast. I just don't want to go too deep in the. It is what it is, right? Like, now they're on to Detroit, and that's an important game. Just if I kind of want to see it come together a little bit, and they've given up 2 42-point quarters. How about a sign of progress? Do not give a 42-point quarter to the Pistons. Can you do that? That would be great. If they don't do that, then they might win that game. And if they win that game, maybe they win another one on this road trip. And it's not 2-5 is a big, big difference from 0-7. I do not want to see them start on a 7-game losing streak. But if they lose on Sunday, that's possible. We'll see that. I'll be here after the game on Sunday, so we'll talk about it then. So make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for checking out this bonus podcast. I will do bonus podcasts every time they play on a Friday or a Saturday. They do this again next week. I'll do this again next week. So subscribe. You'll get the show directly to your device whenever I publish it. It's on YouTube. I usually put it on YouTube first, so you can go check it out there, get into the comment section there, share your thoughts, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.